big hello to everyone taking time to view this video today. My name is Kimball Marlow and I am running as an independent candidate in the 2012 presidential election. The question is always, why run for president? Why should anyone support your views? The reason I'm running is I cannot permit myself to sit the sidelines and watch our country continue to slide downhill. Somewhere along the line, we have lost the American dream for 55% of the American population. That's 55% of Americans that, well, they're just getting forgotten. They're getting shuffled off to the side, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better. We are heading down the road that most Americans see as a disaster in the making. The spin doctors keep saying the economy is getting better, and yet the Fed continues to say the economy is in bad shape for years to come. The truth is the economy is bad, and the agenda being pushed by both political parties will not rebuild our country to a level we had in the 1970s. They expect us to get used to having less, getting less, and being less as a country. I can no longer sit by and watch the future be destroyed by a lack of progressive economic vision by our elected leadership. I love this country with every bone in my body, and I refuse to play dead and watch Congress argue over petty issues while the American people worry about the next paycheck, their jobs, their unemployment benefits, their children. I believe in our country. I believe in the working class. I believe in small business as the backbone of our nation and the future of our nation. The working class and small business are the foundation of our country and have been continually called upon to pay more taxes, higher fees, and higher licensing costs year after year. Frankly, the foundation of our country has been bled dry over the past 40 years, and the cash cow is on life support. Where has the leadership been to guide us out of this mess? It's not by chance that the national debt has gone off the chart. There's a direct correlation to our loss of industry over the past 40 years and our national debt burden. I can fix this situation, and I will fix this situation and reverse our current decline as a nation. I'll be more specific on how in later videos after the two major parties have set their agendas for the 2012 election. I will release my methodology on creating a sustainable double-digit growth in our economy for several years. There will be no doubt in your mind as to who has the vision for the future of this country and for the American people. My mandate is to recapitalize America using foundation economics. The principle of foundation economics is if you want a strong economy, you build an ultra-strong foundation through capitalization of the lower and middle class workers and small business. The Republicans have used trickle-down economics with some success, but it doesn't rebuild the foundation. It only touches a few areas while the majority of the foundation crumbles. The Democrats basically follow the same principle by pouring money into the government programs. This adds rebar to the economic structure, but the foundation continues to crumble. Both major parties fall short of what America needs and are trapped by their political associations with special interests and lobbyists. The only clear path out of this conundrum is with independent leadership. I am that leadership. Bipartisanship should not come into play with an independent leader working with both sides. We don't have 20 years for Congress to figure out how to make a half-assed effort to work with each other. It breaks my heart to see Congress fight over extending unemployment benefits for over 1 million people when the fault falls on both parties for sending our industry overseas. Where is the humanity for our neighbors in need during a time of massive unemployment pushing 10%? The unemployment extension should have been addressed back in June when it was clear our economic recovery was failing to increase employment by millions of jobs. And the sad thing about this whole unemployment extension is it doesn't address the 5 million Americans that are going to lose their long-term extension this year. That's another issue. They're not telling you that part, are they? Once again, this shows the lack of leadership by our president He waits until the last minute and reacts to the situation, instead of taking the bull by the horns when it was clear to most Americans we were not in a marvelous recovery. It pains me to see our country involved in wars we have no business being in, spending billions we don't have to waste on being the world's police force. The dirty little secret is we would have unemployment pushing 20% if we halted the war machine today. And Obama knows it. That's why the pullout day keeps getting pushed forward into the next administration. The job ahead isn't easy, and it can't be accomplished doing business as usual. Congress only requires the right kind of leadership to turn this ship around, and I'm that man. While we keep hearing politicians saying, let's roll up our sleeves and get to work, I'll show up to work, wearing short sleeves, rubber boots, and gloves to deal with all the bull as we clean up the mess and build a new future. After the latest WikiLeaks incident, some of Washington wants to control the internet and limit free speech. If this happens before I get elected, I'll personally ask the Supreme Court to make a ruling on its constitutional validity. The press may choose to roast me as this election moves on, but I'll protect their right to do so without limitation. Hopefully the media won't stick me with a knife too deep and kill the advocate that's willing to stand up and protect their rights regardless of what media format they choose to present their issues under. Getting back to who will benefit from my mandate of foundation economics and recapitalization of America, school teachers for one, as they seem to be the collateral damage in a declining economy and the first to feel the pain in the public sector as employees tied closely to communities. I believe the public sector employees face hard times along with the rest of us. Wage freezes, decline in benefits, reduced retirements and layoffs are in store for these people if we stay the course that we're on. Some might want to point fingers at the government employees as being the problem. Well, I respectfully disagree at that, making that generality. Some changes may be in order, but most of that comes under upper management, and most of the blame falls on federal, state, and local governments that create bureaucratic nightmares. Now, I'm not going to do anything about your state and local issues. You need to step up and deal with those yourself. I will take a look at doing some major house cleaning at the federal level once I've finished with putting all my pieces in place to rebuild the industrial base and recapitalize the American people. I won't hold my breath on getting much done on this point if Congress chooses to rest on their laurels and on the subject of reorganizing the federal government's programs. While the Republicans might be willing to take a shot at reorganizing, the Democrats might want to avoid the issue. Under foundation economics, we should be able to grow our way out of this national debt. And cutting programs won't be high on anyone's agenda once the future looks bright. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see recapitalization of the working class and will benefit anyone in the labor force as wages climb and American business grows. I want to see real unemployment levels below 4.5%. And the average American making enough to pay the bills on one income. We can make this happen, and it will happen. This doesn't have to be a dream. Congress is currently debating about the inheritance tax. The current administration wants 55% of your parents' savings as an inheritance tax. The 1913 law was designed to break up family monopolies holding massive wealth. It was never intended to rob you of getting a sweet inheritance from keeping the family farm. The intent was to spread the wealth and not to fill the government bank account with money your parents already paid taxes on their entire lives. I support the original intent of spreading the wealth around without taxing the transfer of wealth, as long as no single individual receives more than the ceiling amount set by Congress. Moving on to a topic I wanted to cover regarding my vision for the future. I have a pioneering spirit in my genetics, like most Americans that come from a history of explorers and people willing to take risks to find a better life and tame an unknown frontier. There's only one major frontier that remains unconquered, spread out before our eyes, like a vast sea of stars. And I intend to push forward in the conquest of space. Most of you learned in school that over the passage of time, our sun will expand and engulf the Earth as it ages. Scientists like to play the few billion years card before it expands to that size, and this could be exactly the case. But the sun will be expanding a long time before then, and pretty much killing life on Earth as the cycle changes over time. How soon we face an event from the sun that causes massive catastrophic events on the Earth, I don't know. And solar scientists can't predict what the sun might do until it gives clues from the surface changes on the sun. And at that point, we better have a plan B. Well, plan B is a long ways from our current technology, but we can begin to take baby steps towards mastering our own solar system and pushing the limits of technology into the future. We need to develop the next generation of space shuttles. Going back to the old school rockets reflects our decline as a nation, and in my book, it's unacceptable. We are so much better than that. As a nation, we need to build a spaceship capable of not only taking men to Mars, but as a workhorse capable of exploring our solar system. We need to push the boundaries of technology to develop better propulsion systems and life support. We need to build a giant telescope capable of seeing 1,000 times more than the current ones we have to find Earth-like planets circling distant suns. This can be done. We have a couple satellites out there, or telescopes in space, whichever you want to call them. One's called Kepler and one's called Spitzer, and both of them look for planets and things out there in space, but they're small. We need to do this on a bigger scale. Science maybe isn't there yet, but this project is within reach. As Voyager leaves our solar system as the first craft to ever do so, we need to have pride as Americans and lift ourselves up to build the next great achievements for our country. While others watch and sit on their backsides, we will advance to the heavens, and we will do things that they can only dream of. God bless America. We can achieve the impossible if we are willing to try. I have touched on foundation economics and given you a vision for the future of our country. And once again, my name is Kimball Marlow, and I'm running for president in 2012. Thank you for taking the time to watch my first video in a series to follow this as this campaign develops. As we start this endeavor, the campaign has need of a manager with experience on a national level and campaign managers on the state level. Thank you again for watching. Your involvement will make all the difference in the world to the success of my running for president.